Right, everybody. Hey, thank you guys for hopping on. Excited I get the opportunity to host the business overview tonight, and it's been a minute since I've done this, so we'll see how it goes. But I'm excited to be here with y'all. Junie, thank you for managing. Let me see. Thank you for managing this, and I know I got a video in here, so hopefully it turns out good. But anyway, I want to thank you guys for hopping on. For all you guys that are new reps, you've been around JKR for a while, or you're a guest, and tonight is your first introduction to JKR, and you're wondering what the heck this is. Um, I'm excited you're on tonight, and I think there's going to be some exciting things shared. My name is Jeff Fieldstead. I am a co-owner here at JKR Windows. And honestly, my story is a unique story. I never would have imagined that this is where I would be today. Didn't know that I would ever be in Windows. But that's how life goes. You end up in a place where you find something you're excited about, something you're passionate about, and you find out that when people is your calling and leading and growing and helping other people achieve their goals and dreams, then you end up at a place like JKR. And so I'm so grateful to be here with all of you guys tonight. A little bit about myself. I currently reside in southern Utah in St. George with my wife and three children. I grew up in St. George. We moved away to build a business for 15 years. And in 2020, we moved back to southern Utah, where we grew up to raise our children. Phenomenal place to raise kids, as many of you know that live here. But I started in financial services. I was 20 years old, and let me back up a little bit more. I got out of high school, didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I don't know if any of you guys can relate to that. But I was the first kid in my family to graduate high school. And, so after high school, you're supposed to go to college. And that's what I did. I was the first kid in my family to start college. And I think my brother's on here tonight as well. And so you guys can imagine, I'm one of six kids. I'm the first one to graduate high school. And then, I start college. And after a couple weeks in college, I realized very quickly that I didn't want to live the life that my professor was living. And I don't know why I thought this way, but at a young age, I just thought, how can this guy teach me how to get a better life than he's currently living? So I ended up doing advertising and marketing for my mother-in-law, who is also on this call tonight, and did pretty well financially. I was 19 years old. I was, the month that I stopped doing advertising, I'd made $12,000, which I know I look like I'm 20, but that at 19 years old, that was 21 years ago. And so, at 19 years old, making 12 grand a month 21 years ago is like making 30 grand a month today. And so I thought that I had the world by the tail. I thought that everything was going well. And my mother-in-law had some business partners. They decided to cut my pay. And that led me into financial services. I got recruited into financial services by a guy named Brandon Neal, who usually is the one running these. And it changed my life. I got started part time. I was scared to death, didn't know if I could go into sales. I definitely didn't think I could ever be a leader. I've always loved people. And I don't know if anybody on this call, you're kind of like me, where maybe you love people, but you're kind of an introvert. And so I took my wife down to Brandon Neal's office, and he was explaining what it would look like. It'll be, in a similar manner that you're going to be introduced to JKR tonight. And I just didn't think I could do it. And I believed him. I knew Brandon. I'd built a relationship with him. I knew he was very successful, but I didn't believe in myself, honestly. Didn't think I could ever be successful. I never had any examples of anybody in my life making big money or doing something special with their lives. But my girlfriend at the time, who is today my wife, I'm so grateful for her. She was 17 years old. So I showed up at this meeting. I was 19. My wife was 17, and she couldn't get a license with the state because she was 17. So she made me do it. And yeah, I just decided, okay, she believed in me. And we got started. I made an extra $15,000 my first year. I was just learning, and I was really not good with people. I was learning sales, wasn't good with people at all, learning how to talk to people, learning how to do presentations, all this kind of stuff. And then my second year, by the end of my second year, I was making $25,000 a month. Totally changed my life. By the time I was, 30 months into sales and sales leadership, I was making 50, 60 grand a month. By the time I was 25, I had saved my first million. Our company went public, took our company public by in 2010. And I was 25 years old when our company went public. I turned 26 a month later, and it changed my life. It changed my family forever. 5 years later, in 2015, we went back on the New York Stock Exchange for being the most successful IPO in the last 5 years, and just set my family up forever. Sold my business in 2020 and thought I was going to retire. I didn't have a father. My father wasn't around growing up, and I just wanted to be the best dad that I could. And I thought that being the best father meant spending every single waking moment with my children. So sold my business in 2020, and a couple of years into it, in fact, 3 years into retirement, I had somebody ask my son what I did, and my son said that I had worked out, that that's what I did for a living. And I realized at that point that the decision I had made wasn't helping my children. It wasn't going to help my son grow up and be an incredible man and teach him how to provide for his family. And it was actually just this selfish thing where I just wanted to spend every moment with my son. And that hasn't changed. But what my number one priority as a father is to help them grow up and be incredible humans and be contributors to society and have great lives themselves. And so I wanted to give them that example and decided, man, what am I going to do? I got to figure out something to do. I'd already sold my business, and I love people. I love leadership. I love helping people, and developed these skills over 20 years. And my best friend growing up, Jefferson Rogers, had started JKR in 2018. And I just called him one day and just said, "Dude, I'm just so bored. I don't know." And we had talked a little bit over the years. Every time, every week, we'd go on date night with our families, and he said, maybe there's a place for me at JKR. Long story short, here I am. A couple years later, the business has absolutely exploded. The month I got here, we did 1.7 million in revenue, and now it's a bad month if we do less than 4 million a month, which is exciting. So, wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about who we are. That's a little bit about myself. You see a picture of my family there. But JKR was founded in 2018. We've sold over $100 million worth of windows and windows only. We've currently installed over 65,000 windows in customers' homes. We've paid over $30 million in commissions to our sales force since 2018. We're approaching over 2,000, or we're approaching 2,000 five-star reviews for our customers, which is awesome. Got an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. We currently operate in 18 states, which has rapidly expanded over the last couple of years. And our goal is to be $1 billion revenue company in the next 5 years. And when we talk about $1 billion revenue company, it isn't about the revenue that's important to us. It's the amount of lives that we can impact. It's how many customers we get to help, how many people we get to help change careers and do something special with their lives and build a business for themselves, just not by themselves, and build a company inside of a company. And they can really take advantage of a system and go make an impact in their lives. And that's what's important to us. And so when we set this goal as doing $1 billion in revenue, we reverse engineered it by saying, man, we want to make an impact on thousands of people's lives. And so if we're going to go make an impact on thousands of people's lives, what kind of revenue do we have to do in order for that to happen? And that's where that $1 billion in revenue goal came from. It's not just revenue. See, I believe at JKR we found a better way. I believe most companies start a business because they want to make money. Most people go into business because they want to make money. I ended up I started in advertising because my mother-in-law owned a business, and I had this job for like 4 hours that I hated. And I went to lunch that day and told my wife at the time, my girlfriend at the time, who today is my wife. I was telling her while I was at her house that I hated this place. And my mother-in-law had asked me why and that she would give me a job. And I ended up selling advertising, and I just ended up at this place. And maybe some of you guys are like me, where you just ended up at a career. Maybe some of you are on this call. Like I'm sure Mark Nichols is on this call today, where he dreamed of being a police officer. He dreamed of protecting his community and serving people in his community. And that was his dream, but he couldn't provide his family with a dream life. And so maybe you're either one of those people. But I believe we found a better way, because we didn't build a business and we didn't start here just because we wanted to make some money. We did this because, man, we put people first, that we want to make an impact in people's lives. And so because of that, our sales process is a no pressure sales process. It's a natural process where if we can provide value and we can help customers, that's what we want to do, that it's relationship driven, that we want to build a relationship with customers for a long period of time, that it's the last window that they're ever going to need, that if they decide that they ever know anybody, that they feel so confident in the process that they had with us that they want to continue referring people to us, and that they know that we're not just we don't just sell windows, but that we actually care about our customers. We found a better way because in most businesses, right? If you're nervous like I was, man, I didn't think I could do sales. I didn't think I was good enough. I didn't think I could ever sit down across the kitchen table, especially 19, 20 years old, and think that somebody would listen to me. And if you're nervous like that, I wouldn't be here today if somebody wouldn't allow me to start part time and do it at my pace. And we allow people to start part time and go full time when and if they're ready. I know there's people that get started with our company that their dream and goal is to be a doctor. And we want to help them do that. If that's their dream and they want to be a doctor and they want to put themselves through school, but they don't have to do it just during the summers or whatever, that they can have a consistent schedule if they got a family while they're going to school, right? And so if they decide that maybe, hey, I want to go full time, then they can do that when they're ready and they feel confident, right? We believe we found a better way because we love that people get to build a business with their spouses or with their partners. That in corporate America, typically they say, hey, if you're going to go get a job and work somewhere and your spouse works there too, they got to find somewhere else to work, or you got to find somewhere else to work. And we just don't believe that. We believe that two heads combined working towards a common goal are more powerful than anything in the world. And we believe that it's better here because of that. That you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. Um, and I think that's a powerful thing. If you guys give me a second, I don't know, Junie, it looks like there's a couple of people waiting to be admitted. If you'll admit them for me, thank you, dude. We created a structure that allows you to, whether it's help customers by yourself. Maybe, some people say, man, that's all I want to do. I just want to be by myself. I don't want to be a leader. I don't want to be involved with people. I don't, I want to help customers. I want to represent a product I feel great about. Or maybe you're someone like me that wanted to build a team and I wanted to make an impact on people's lives. We created a structure that allows you to benefit from either one of those, where you have no territories, no quotas, no boss. You're in the driver's seat. But at the same time, you can go build a team and it allows you to make an unlimited income, right? That you can have security for you and your family, that nobody's ever going to lay you off. Nobody's ever going to cut your pay, like happened to me, right? And we want to make sure that people have the opportunity to go represent a product they're proud of, but also build some security and some income for their family, that whether or not they get hurt. This last year we had a couple of our leaders get hurt, and they didn't have to worry about whether or not they could provide for their family financially. Their business kept going. And we believe that that's a powerful thing, that nobody's putting their thumb on you. Nobody's putting their pressure on you to have to make a sale. You wake up every day unemployed. We believe building a business is powerful. I want you to think about the market. You say, okay, Jeff, I understand. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about these details, but I want you to think about the marketplace and the opportunity that we have. There's 90 million single family homes in America. And every one of us that lives in a home, that home has windows. And according to the National Association of Home Builders, when somebody's buying a home, 9 out of 10 people would consider new windows as a desired feature in that home. And when they start realizing the power of new and energy efficient windows, that they're almost always willing to do it. So if you're anything like me, when I first got introduced, I remember Jefferson when he started JKR in 2018. I'm like, windows, man, who's buying windows? Like, who's replacing windows on their home? And I lived in this beautiful golf course community. And some of you that are from Southern Utah, I lived in the Ledges. And it's a beautiful golf course community, bunch of custom homes, and we loved our home. It was beautiful. But Jefferson said something to me that changed the way I think about windows forever. He says, hey, dude, do you ever have that room where you walk into it and it's either too hot or too cold? And I'm like, yes, it's actually my casita. I know the exact room because every time I open the door in the summer, it's scorching hot. And I've actually had HVAC techs at my house to try to figure out how we could pump more air conditioning into that room. And you know what he said to me? He said, Jeff, it has nothing to do with the HVAC, dude. It's the windows. And I'm like, it never crossed my mind that it was the windows. And I'm telling you guys, I had HVAC techs, I had the contractor that built my house. Not one person ever told me, Jeff, it's the windows. Until I talked to Jefferson and he said, dude, it's the windows. And he said, everybody I know, Jeff, has that problem. And that day it clicked for me. I said, dang it, like to me, it was a frustrating problem. I was willing to pay to fix it, but I couldn't figure out what the problem was. And maybe some of you guys have that same issue happen in your home. I want you to think about as that's happening, the cost of electricity that happens when your HVAC unit is running constantly and it never shuts off because you're trying to cool that area of your house, you're trying to heat that area of your home. See, according to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, prices for electricity have grown 123% over the last 30 years. See, unfortunately, a lot of our customers are on fixed income. They're older people that are living on Social Security incomes and they don't have the opportunity to go make some more money. And so as these prices start to gouge away at their discretionary income, living on Social Security impacts their quality of life. And we can go sit down with that customer and we can help them solve this problem. And it makes a big impact. See, we see all these rising costs happening, whether it's electricity or the cost of living, and it creates an issue for a lot of families. And I love a quote that I always remember by Albert Einstein said, "In the midst of every crisis lies great opportunity." And so while costs are going up for families, while energy costs are increasing as we know it, there is a solution, right? And it's very simple. And I hope this video will play. And if it plays, hey, Mark Henniger, I can see your face. If you'll do me a favor and just give me a thumbs up if you can hear the sound once I start this video. Would you do that? Thank you, sir. You hear that?
You got to see
No?
these windows.
Okay. Let's see if I can make this happen. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this window or this video to play.
Jeff, it started playing and you just asked too early. We can hear the sound.
Oh, you heard the sound? Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, here we go.
You got to see these windows. They're the highest quality AAA grade windows on the market at half the cost of the biggest brands. The grid pattern, you can choose to have it or not. The vinyl is the highest quality. It comes with a lifetime guarantee to never warp, fade, or discolor. The glass, that's what's called a double strength insulated Pittsburgh plate glass, or PPG. It's actually the next strongest glass, the bulletproof glass. It can handle a golf ball, a baseball, another baseball, 4 more golf balls, a football, and a soccer ball. It's still glass, so it is possible to break. But if something does happen, just let us know and we'll replace it free of charge forever. The glass also has what's called a low E coating. It's there to protect you and your home. It's actually a microscopically thin metallic coating that helps retain heat when it's cold and reflect heat when it's hot. It blocks 95% of harmful UV rays and prevents furniture from fading, which is more common than you think. This is a cam action lock. That just means it's never going to bind up on you. The lock has a zinc powder coating on it, so it's never going to chip or corrode. And you've also got an indicator right here on the lock, so it tells you whether it's locked or unlocked. Now, these windows are also so easy to open. Most windows only open from one side or the other. Ours opens from the bottom and the top. And on our side-to-side windows, they'll open from the left and the right. Everything about these windows is designed and built to make life easier. They also come with a fresh air lock. It allows you to have fresh air and safety at the same time. You can let fresh air in the house at night without risking somebody breaking in. You just release the locks and crack the window. It'll withstand 1,100 pounds per square inch of force, and it works the same way on our side-to-side windows. Easy and safe. Cleaning these windows is very easy. With our double hung windows, instead of having to go outside, you can just tilt them in and clean the outside of the window from the inside of the home. The weather stripping will be on the top and the sides, which is rare because most windows only have it on one side or the other. It's grooved and integrated right into the sash, so there's no adhesives or anything coming apart when it gets hot. The synthetic wool blend and Mylar fin help maintain the integrity of the weather stripping, and Mylar is the same material used in spacesuits and weather balloons. It's the highest quality. This is called the Trinity Windjammer. It's an overlapping seal, so when these windows are closed and locked, it's guaranteed to not let any water, wind, or dust in the home. From the outside, this is the European bevel design, which cosmetically looks really nice, adding some extra curb appeal and some contrast. It also has a couple functions built right into it. So instead of the water just running straight down the glass, it helps divert the water out and around and away from the window, which protects your siding and trim. The track for the screen is built right into the bevel. We use a half free floating screen. So whatever side you have open, you can just pull the screen to that side. That makes it really easy for cleaning because you never have to pull it off. But if you want to remove the screen, it's very easy to take out and put back in. In other windows, the screens typically bend and the mesh will start to shred and discolor. Not anymore. Our screen material is a fiberglass mesh with a UV coating, so it'll keep that really nice black look. They're made of a forged aluminum with a zinc powder coating, and they have extra keys in the corners for strength. On top of that, we're the only company that covers our screens for life. That includes normal wear and tear, but also anything that might break them. We'll fix it for you forever. Our base window colors are white, almond, and desert clay. You can upgrade to black, bronze, or silver exterior color. That's your call, and you can reference our website to see several examples of the different color combinations to help you decide. Our windowsill is also really unique. We won't bore you with the details, but you can rest assured that bugs, sticks, and dirt are no longer allowed in. If you want to clean this part of the window, we've made it super easy. This area is smooth and slanted, so it's easy to wipe or spray out. We're also very proud of how strong these windows are. When they're closed and locked, they're rated for over 150-mile-per-hour hurricane force winds before they'll let any air, dust, or water penetrate the house. We build, install, and service windows the right way because the most important thing to us in the world is you being happy with your windows and our team being proud of the product they deliver. Like I've said before, the heart of JKR is our fierce commitment to people.
So that gives you an idea of the incredible product we represent. That video is, just so you know who that is the founder and CEO of JKR, Jefferson Rogers. And it's powerful. You know, every time I look at or I watch that presentation, it reminds me the incredible product that we get to offer, how many people's lives that it can impact, whether it's our reps across the kitchen table or the customer that get to have those windows in their home forever. You know, Simon Sinek, I don't know if you guys have ever read a book called Start With Why, but he said people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And I think this is an important thing because if the reason you're doing it is really to impact lives, well, then that's what's going to happen. See, unfortunately, I talked about most people start a business just to make some money, and then one day they make some money, and then what happens after that? But the reality is when your goal is to make an impact on people's lives, it's a never-ending journey that you get to go on, which to me is the most exciting thing we can have in life. Is something that we really believe in. So I want to talk to you guys about how we get paid tonight. And I'm going to fly through some of this really fast. And you guys forgive me for a second. I'm going to, maybe if I can, I don't know what's going on. My computer's not happy with me right now. But I want to talk about how we get paid. And I am going to go through this pretty quickly. I don't expect you to get it all. I tell everybody as I go through this, it's like drinking water out of a fire hydrant. It could be dangerous if you try to get it all, right? But whoever invited you tonight, if you're a guest and this is the first time you're seeing this, the person that invited you should understand the compensation really well. And if they don't, feel free to get with the office sales leader or the OSL that leads that location, whoever invited you. They'll make sure they get you all the information, okay? Because I think it's important you understand this. So let's talk about this as we go into how we get paid. Before we talk about the details of exactly the numbers, I want you to understand how you get paid, but also why we've set it up the way we've set it up. So there's a book that Robert Kiyosaki wrote. He's the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He wrote a book called Cash Flow Quadrant and talks about there's 4 ways in America to earn income. And the first way is to become an employee, which if you're an employee, your income is based on the position, not the person. And I've always encouraged people in America. I say, listen, if your goal is to, drive to Mexico and you're headed north, then there's something wrong with that. Can we agree with that? If your goal is to get to Mexico and you're driving north, you're not going to end up in Mexico. But so there's nothing wrong with becoming an employee if that is your goal and you understand the outcome of choosing that way to earn income in America. But you have to understand that the income is based on the position, not the person. So if you decide you don't want to become an employee where you're trading time for money, because most employees, let's trade it, or let's face it, they trade 1 year of their time for a certain salary or 1 hour for their time. And that's just the way it works, right? And if you decide you don't want to do that, some people become self-employed. So they become a dentist, doctor, a lawyer, a real estate agent, something like that, a salesperson. These people are self-employed, meaning that the way they bought themselves a job. So if you think about a dentist gets paid every time they drill teeth, right? They drill teeth, they get paid. A lawyer gets paid by hour. They bill you by the hour. A doctor gets paid per patient seen. A real estate agent gets paid per house they sell. So a self-employed person still is limited based on the amount of hours in a day. So I'd much rather be self-employed than an employee if your goal is to make a lot of money, because there are some self-employed people that do really well financially. A lot of my neighbors are doctors and they work like crazy, but they do well financially. But there's another way to make money, and that's to be a business owner. And a business owner owns a system, right? They own a system, and that system yields them a profit regardless of whether or not they show up. And then the last way to earn income is to become an investor. And an investor is where you invest your money, and that investment spits off income regardless of what you do. So out of all four of these ways to choose income, which two would you choose? Now, most people say the right side. And if you're the kind of person that says, I would choose the right side, I would prefer to be a business owner and an investor, then I hope you pay attention, okay? Because our business is set up to where if somebody decides to become self-employed, they can thrive here for long term. And we got a lot of incredible employees, by the way, at JKR that are perfect. We need them and they help us. We got a lot of people that are self-employed and that's all they ever want to do. And we have a system that allows them to do that as well. But I know there's some of you that say, man, I would love to be an owner. I would love to own a system. I would love to lead people. I would love to build a team. And I hope if that's you that you'll pay attention. So the way it works is JKR pays contract levels based on the contract size of a customer's windows. Okay. Now our average contract size is about $20,000. So when a customer replaces windows on their home, some customers do all their windows, some customers do half their home, maybe just the front or maybe just some rooms. But our average contract size is about $20,000. So you can see here, we pay contract levels from 5% all the way up to 21%. And if a customer buys windows, depending on what contract level you're at, if you set and close that contract, you would make that level. So if you're at 10%, customer did a $20,000 contract, you're going to make $2,000. If you're at 5%, $20,000 contract, you're going to make $1,000, right? So very simple. Now, if you decide to go build a team, you just earn the spread between your contract level and theirs. For example, if you're at a 10% contract and somebody's at 5 and you brought that person in at 5, you taught them, you trained them, you helped them across the kitchen table, you helped them learn how to help a customer. You're at 10, they're at 5, you would make the spread of 5. Does that make sense? Let's put it into numbers. So let's say you're a setter. In our business, we have a setter closer model. So our reps will go door to door. They'll knock on a door. They'll introduce themselves, explain to them what we're doing in the area, that we're looking for a couple of advertising homes, which is our model. And the person that invited you, I think you should sit down and help them or have them explain to you our advertising home model. And we'll choose a couple of homes in a neighborhood, and we offer them an incredible opportunity to be an advertising home, and we reduce the price of those windows so that we can use them to advertise to our retail customers. Okay. So if you're a setter and you're going, you knock doors, which for about every 40 conversations you have with customers, you're going to have 2 sets. And for about every 2 appointments that get set, one of them should move forward, right? So very good odds, very good ratios. And if you did 2 sales in a week, then at a 5% contract, you would make $2,000 a week. $2,000 a week is $104,000 a year. Now I want you to think about this. I mean, seriously, we allow people to start part-time. We have a lot of people that are part-time that'll make an extra $2,000, $4,000, $6,000 a month part-time. I was just talking to Nick, who's on the call, and I don't know if, gosh, Nick, you're going to have to remind me. Daniel, right?
Dan Dixon.
Dan. I don't know if Dan's on, but Nick
he was on earlier.
Okay. Dan, are you on? So I don't know if he's still on, but Dan got started with us, and Nick's bragging to me about his story earlier today. And it's so awesome for me to hear because Dan lives in near Reno and he's new with us. He was a customer first, so he believed in what we did. He was so impressed with it. He decided to get started with us. And last week, y'all, and he's not the newest to life, right? He's been around for a little while. He's got some maturity, and he went and made it's going to be close to $16,000 or $17,000 last week. And Nick, how long's he been with us?
I believe he started 2 months ago, but he relies on us coming into town to help close deals at this point because he just started. So
Yeah.
I think he's worked maybe 2 or 3 full weeks.
So I want you guys to think about that. Last week, he's worked 2 or 3 full weeks. Let's say worst case scenario, he's worked 4 weeks, but last week he made $15,000 plus last week. And that's a part-time contract. I don't know about how you guys feel, but I know I got kids. And soccer cleats are expensive. Sports are expensive. I know during the Great Recession in 2008, the average American that lost their home only needed an extra $500 a month to keep their home. So when we're talking about an extra $2,000 a week, this is what's happening constantly. That if somebody's only closing a couple of deals, a lot of times they're frustrated with us, which we're very proud of them. But they're like, man, I wish I got to do more. And here they are making $100,000 a year part-time if they do that consistently. But what'll happen is as you start doing more revenue, you get a higher contract level, right? And the OSL will, or whoever got you on this call, they can talk to you about what it takes exactly to earn that contract level. But let's say now you're getting started, you're hiring and training a couple of people. Let's say it's 3 people you train and you're at an 8% contract. You continue to just do 2 personal sales and you never do more than that, right? We don't expect you, all right, all of a sudden one day you got to go kill it. Now, if you want to, you could, but now you got a teammate or 3 teammates. And let's just say they go each do one sale each. You're doing $400,000 a month in revenue. You're making $5,000 a week, but you're still just doing 2 personal sales. So you're making the same effort, but your income has now almost tripled. And this is what's supposed to happen. When you build a company inside of a company, or you build a business for yourself, but not by yourself, and you bring in more value to the company, we believe that you should be compensated for that. We believe that if there's more revenue, you should benefit from it as well, not just short term, but long term. So now what happens? So that you're a setter, but now you say, you know what? I can go help these customers. I would love closing these contracts, going through measuring windows, helping a customer make the choices. What colors do they want? Do they want grids? Do they not want grids? I've been around long enough. I understand the knowledge, the terminology, and I can help these customers make these decisions. So let's say you decide to do that. Now, let's say you're at a 14% contract and you're still closing 2 sales a week. And now you got 4 people, right? Because you added 1 more and they're still each just doing a couple of deals a month. Nobody's killing it. Nobody's doing anything crazy. It's $693,000 a month in team revenue, which, by the way, I think like there are people that are on this call tonight that have done $600,000 in personal revenue. So we're talking a team of 5 people. That'd pay you $11,000 a week or $582,000 a year. It's life-changing money. It's huge. And I know for most people, they just say, man, what's the catch? It seems like it's such ridiculous income. I don't know anybody that makes money like that. And I don't know if you guys have ever felt that way too. When you feel, I know I felt that way. When I met Brandon Neal was making 30, 40 grand a month. And it was a long time ago. I'll give you that. It was 2004 that I met Brandon Neal making 30, 40 grand a month. But I thought you had to walk on water to make that kind of money. Like I didn't know anybody that made money like that. And so when I first met him, I go, dude, maybe you do, but I don't know if I could ever be that good. But I want you to remember, y'all, it's still just 2 sales a week. It's nothing crazy. It's the system. See, a lot of times you're the right person. You're the perfect person. You've just been in the wrong vehicle. You're the fuel that you've always needed to be, but you're putting that fuel, which is you and your energy and your talents and your skills, in the wrong vehicle. It's like putting diesel fuel in a gasoline car. If you do that, it blows it up. But if you put the right fuel, if you put high octane fuel in a Ferrari, it goes quick. You put diesel in a Ferrari, it dies. The only difference here, y'all, is we just have a right vehicle. We've built it to help people go achieve their goals and dreams. But now you become an OSL, which in real estate would be like you become a broker. And an OSL contract level is 21%. And let's say at this point, you're not helping any personal customers. You just developed 3 leaders that are going out, and each one of those leaders is doing about 500,000 in revenue, which is less than this slide that I just showed you. So now let's say, some months they're up, some months they're down. Again, I want to be conservative. And that's a $1.5 million a month revenue team. And if they're at 14% and you're at 21, that's 105 grand a month. It's 25,000 a week. Now, I don't know what you do with 25,000 a week, but I know what I do is take the first week and use that to pay taxes. The second week, tithe. The third week, living expenses. And the fourth week, save, invest, and change your life. And imagine with 25 grand a month, how much fun you could have in life. And you take the other 25 and imagine how fast you can get financially independent. Imagine how many lives you could impact. So I don't know what you would do with that. I know what I would do with it. But it doesn't stop there, because we want to benefit you, and we want everybody to benefit from having the same contract as you have. So now what happens is, if you develop those 3 people into office leaders, like brokers, or, if in real estate it was a broker, or here we call it an office sales leader. Now what happens is, if you got 3 of them, we pay you a 2% override on those offices. And now they're all making ridiculous income. And I mean, it's well over $1.5 million, well over $1.5 million. The more you build, the more we pay you. And it's just the reality. It's exciting. It gets bigger and bigger. And here's what I love is down here, it talks about second generations and third generations. And the powerful thing that I think is, like, if you get married and you have children, now you know exactly what caused that, but hopefully you don't have anything to do with having grandchildren. That just happens automatically as long as you had children, yes or no? And then great grandchildren, your posterity happens automatically. That's what's supposed to happen. And in business is the same way. So by developing leaders, if you do a good job of developing leaders that are taught to develop leaders, the posterity of a business is supposed to happen. So, are there real life examples of this happening? You look at guys like Corey Gilbert, who became an OSL in November of 24. I think Corey, you're on, aren't you?
Yep, I'm on.
So Corey, when did you start with JKR officially?
November 15th.
November 15th of 2024. And when did you become an OSL?
April 1st.
April 1st. So November, December, January, April. So it took Corey 3.5 months to become an OSL. Is that right, Corey?
Yeah, November 15th I started, and then, I moved to OSL April 1st.
Dude, you're a stud. Great job, dude. And, this says Corey's been averaging 60 grand a month, but I think it's more than that. I know Corey is just getting ready to cross $500,000 of income since the day he started. And there's a lot of months he's made a lot more than that. So great job, Corey. I'm very proud of you. You look at Levi and Shayla.
I actually crossed that mark. Obadiah and I had to do a couple exchanges. So
a long time ago.
Yeah. So it already crossed it.
See, I want you to think about this. Whether you're a guest or you're a rep, you've been around here for a while. I mean, how crazy is it, you guys? How crazy is it to think that, like, we're in an environment where someone's like embarrassed to make $500,000 a year? I think it's awesome. It's like, man, I should be doing better. I know I'm so dang proud of Corey and how fast he's exploded. So great job, Corey. But I want you guys to think about this. Levi and Shayla, he got here as a truck driver, and he's working with Corey. And here he is making $40,000 a month, no sales experience, an incredible guy. And people ask, why does a guy like Levi win? Well, it's because of who he is. It isn't because of his sales experience. I don't know if you guys ever meet those people like, I know this guy, he could sell ice to Eskimos. I'm like, well, tell him to stay in Antarctica. We're not looking for that person. We're looking for the guy that cares about people, that wants to deliver value and that wants to build relationships. That's who we're looking for, right? How about Derek in Carolina? He's making 30 grand a month. He just got started with us. He hasn't been here that long. Todd Garcia. Todd Garcia was making 70 grand a year at Big O. And here is Todd making 65,000 a month plus. And I think his record month now with us is 87,000. Maybe I'm wrong. It might have been a little more than that. But he's making more a month than he was making all year at Big O. And Todd's biggest struggle is that he's making so much money. He's making more money than he's ever made before. And he's just comfortable. And so now I've been talking to Todd about, hey, dude, now it's time to pay it forward and help other people do the same thing. That's a bigger goal. It's a bigger mission to change other people's lives. You've changed your life. Now it's time to pay it forward. As you can see, those are Todd's kids in his picture, including the ones that are taller than him, right? How about Gabe and McKenna, right? Gabe has been crushing it. He was working at a local car dealership and hated it. You know, he went to BYU and got a degree and ended up working at selling cars and didn't love it. Didn't love the environment. Didn't love the culture. And now he's making 60,000 a month plus. He's a new OSL. He's just kicking butt. Connor and Riley. Connor, was doing pest control before. He just got married. Congratulations, Connor. But here he's making 45 grand a month. And I know he's planning on growing that. You look at Nick Hanniger. He's there with his dad. We talk about being able to work with your family and do something you're proud of. But he was a pro football player. And it makes me happy to see him sitting there next to his dad and being able to do something. As a father, I can't imagine anything more fulfilling in life than getting to chase my goals and my dreams with my kids. Early on in my life, one of my mentors, I used to say, man, I got to get it done. My kids are getting ready to turn 18 and they're getting ready to leave their house. And one of my mentors said, Jeff, that is not true. When your kids turn 18, they're going to spend more time with you because they're going to end up wanting to work with you and they're going to want to bring the kids around. You just have to provide a lifestyle that they're attracted to, not one they're trying to get away from. And so I look at Mark and Nick and the whole family. Kayla, I'm going to show another picture next. This is Mike and Jenny. And you see Nick is in this picture. And, Mike and Jenny have built an incredible business, a family business. I'm sure Colton's on here tonight as well, where they get to work together and they're making some incredible income. Yeah, it's 75 grand a month. It's life-changing money. And, Mike and the next guy, Obadiah, and his wife, Albany, are the JKR OGs, right? And they're our longest tenured people here, and look at their incomes. And it's not like they've been here that long, guys. And they're doing some life-changing things. See, I believe as I wrap up tonight, I got a few things I want to talk to you about, but I don't think you're stuck. There is a better way. And the income potential here is ridiculous, but I don't think that's the best part. I believe more important than the income is our promise to invest in you as a person, to come build something you're proud of, to make this a career, that we're going to believe in you, we're going to invest in you, we're going to run alongside of you, and you can have a life-changing experience. And make no mistake, it's going to be hard work. And I tell people, listen, it's probably going to be the hardest thing you've ever done. But with hard things come big rewards. And the big rewards, yes, while they might be financially, I think it's more importantly, it's the person you become in the process. Yes, it's going to require commitment, and that's a good thing. Because when we're committed to something, it's freeing. See, I show this picture all the time, and if you're anything like me, and I'm not Mr. Politically correct, so I'm sorry if I offend you, but this is a goofy-looking bunch of people. And I promise you, if this is what we look like at headquarters at JKR, you would be questioning whether or not you could do something great with your life here. But this group of people built one of the most valuable companies in the history of the world. See, what happened there was a guy in this picture who started recruiting people, and he said, I don't even have any money. I can't even pay you. I can't even pay you. I hope you can come to work with us, but I can give you some stock options. They said, well, what are you doing? And they said, we're going to build this stuff called software. And nobody knew what it was. Nobody even had a computer. They said, what are you talking about? It's soft and you wear it? Like, what software? And he said, I'm telling you, we're going to change the world. And this goofy looking dude down here in the bottom left is Bill Gates. And the dude in the bottom right is Paul Allen. Two of the wealthiest men in the history of the United States. And they didn't found Microsoft because they were just excited to make money. They founded it because they believed that they could make a difference in the world. They believed they could make an impact in people's lives. And they did it. You look at this guy and someone goes, who's this guy? Nobody even knows who this guy is. Well, let me tell you a story about this guy. This guy lives in Pahrump, Nevada today. And you can go to the local penny slot casino in Pahrump and meet him. I've been there myself. I lived in Las Vegas for 10 years. He lives in a double wide trailer in Pahrump, Nevada on a $1,215 a month Social Security check. But what people don't know about this man, whose name is Ron Wayne, and Ron Wayne helped found one of the most successful companies in the history of the world called Apple. True story. Steve Jobs was starting Apple and he needed some help. So he got a buddy named Steve Wozniak and he got another buddy named Ron Wayne who he worked with at Atari. See, Ron Wayne had had a little bit of success in the past in business. And Steve Jobs didn't know what he was doing, so he goes to this guy named Ron at Atari who had a little bit of success in business and says, man, I'm starting my company. And Ron Wayne drew the first Apple logo. He wrote the first training manual. He owned 10% of the company when it started. And they started selling a couple of computers. It was founded in Steve Jobs' garage. As you guys hear it, you hear about Steve Jobs' story, and he changed the world with a phone with no buttons, right? But we don't hear about the story about Ron Wayne, who was the third partner. And what happened was Steve Jobs needed some money to go build the first computer, so he went and took out a loan. He took out a loan for just a few $1,000s. And he came back one day to talk to Steve and Ron and said, hey guys, I'm excited. I got the money to build our first computer. And Ron Wayne said, what? See, Ron Wayne's last company, the reason why he had a job is the last company he was with went bankrupt and it put his family through some financial struggles. And he was scared to death. And he told Steve Jobs, he said, if you're going to go take out debt to go build this company, I don't want any part of it. And he said, tell me what you want for my shares and I'll write you a check today. $2,300. Ron Wayne gave up 10% of Apple for $2,300. You know what the market cap of Apple is today? I don't know if you can see that. It's $4 trillion. You know what 10% of $4 trillion is? $400 billion. See, Ron Wayne wasn't a stupid guy. He's brilliant. But he was scared to give it a shot. He was scared to just take a chance. And I always tell everybody, what's the worst case scenario? Well, Ron's situation is he still would have ended up in the same spot if it didn't work out. But if he would have stuck with it, if he would have gave it a shot, he'd be the second richest man on planet Earth right now next to Elon Musk. So I don't know. How much is your time worth? See, we all wake up every day and we trade some time. You work for something. But I'm sure everybody on this call today would agree that there's somebody who works for 40 hours a week and earns less than 50 grand a year. Can we all agree on that? There's also somebody who works 40 hours a week and earns 100 grand a year. But there's also somebody who works 40 hours a week and earns 500 grand a year. And if you're anything like I was, I want to know what is the difference between the $500,000 a year person and the $50,000 a year person. And I wanted to know. I'm motivated. I'm ambitious. I want to change my life. I want to make an impact on my children's life. And you know what I found out? It wasn't the person, but it was how they chose to make their money. See, 95% of their population has a job, and they own 5% of the nation's wealth. Why? Because their core value is security. It's their core value. So if you're like I was when I first saw something like this and you were a little bit scared, and I'm honest with you. I was scared to death, but my wife wasn't. Now, let's face it, she didn't have to put up with the rejection. And she didn't have to put up with people telling her no. She knew it was going to be me. But she at least believed in me. Encouraged me to take a shot. What about a business owner? They own 5% of they're 5% of the population are business owners, but they own 95% of the nation's wealth. Why? Because their core value is freedom. You know what we want to help you do? Is build a business inside of a business. That you can build a team and you can earn overrides. That you can actually scale your income without having to invest more time. See, the most valuable commodity in our lives is time. And employees and self-employed people, they trade their time for money. And all we want to do is help you become an owner, an investor, and learn to leverage your time, leverage your skills, and build people. See, I don't think we could have a greater calling in life than how can I learn these skills so that I can transfer them into other people. And I tell you this because this is a true story. This was the car. When I got started in business, the car I drove. And I tell my wife all the time, I go, dang, I'm a good recruiter. Because if I got you driving that thing, dang, I'm good. It's a true story. I bought this car when I had 230,000 miles on it. That's when I bought it, by the way. I drive really fast today, and I blame it on this car because the windshield wipers didn't work. But I learned at 60 miles an hour, rain doesn't really stick to your windshield anymore. So I'm flying through every neighborhood just so I could see, right? Everybody thinks it's dangerous, but it was far more dangerous to not see, right? No AC, which in St. George was not fun to drive a car like this. This was my childhood home. And it still fires me up every time I see it. I never forgot how I felt. And my mom did everything she was supposed to do. Go to school, get good grades, get an education, get a good job. She did everything she was supposed to do. And man, I never forget how I felt. You know how many kids made fun of me growing up in this house? You can't even call it a house. You know what the street next to us was called? Crack alley. You know what it's like raising a child in a neighborhood like that? So I'm grateful for it though. Never once do I regret growing up there. I'm so grateful for it because it gave me this desire to be somebody that I knew what I didn't want in life. This was me, right? I grew up in a boxing gym. I didn't start Mr. Professional. You can see in that picture on the right, I refused to smile. I was ornery. I had a black eye in that other picture. I was a boxer. We didn't talk in the gym. We fought. But it wasn't very long after that. Here we are on the New York Stock Exchange, celebrating 5 years of an IPO. I never would have thought that I'd be on the New York Stock Exchange, traveling around the world, right? Someone one time told me that they said, Jeff, money doesn't buy happiness. I go, you ever given your wife $80,000 and told her to go shopping? Look at the smile on her face. And I know it doesn't buy happiness, y'all. But you know what does? Not having to stress about money. Not having to worry about there's too much month left at the end of the money. How about becoming friends with your heroes? See, this was my hero. I used to listen to him on audios and watch his videos. And then I became friends with him. And, you know, we started sending text messages and emails. And he still uses a fax machine, believe it or not. I sent him a note on a fax machine. And multi-billionaire. And I'm just so grateful. And it isn't the money that impresses me about this man. It's about who he was in his heart. The money was a byproduct of who he was, who he is. So as you're on here tonight, I think you're going to have the pain of change or the pain of regret. And I just want to be honest with you. Because winning's uncomfortable. Building a team is uncomfortable. Dealing with people is uncomfortable. It's the pain of change. You know, I always tell everybody, if you go to the gym and you do squats, you know, your legs hurt tomorrow. And that's God's way of telling you, keep doing this. It's good for you. It's uncomfortable. It's change. You're going to grow from it. But it takes pain. But so does regret. So does regret. So I tell people all the time, I just didn't want to get to the end of my life and go, man, I don't want my kids asking me, Dad, why didn't you give it a shot? Dad, why didn't you just go for it? I didn't want to live with regret. I don't want to live in my comfort zone. And I've told everybody my whole life is that the pain of change weighs ounces compared to the pain of regret weighing tons. Mark Twain said, I can help anyone get what they want in life. The problem is I can't find anybody who knows what they want. And if you're on this call tonight, you could be here for a long time and you're still drifting and wondering, man, do I know what I want? And I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know for a long time what I wanted. But you know what I did know? I knew what I didn't want. I didn't want to raise my kids in a single wide trailer. I didn't want to raise my kids in a bad neighborhood. I didn't want to raise my kids in an environment where they didn't see their dad chasing something, doing something special with their life, giving them hope and belief again. See, I believe you have an opportunity of a lifetime tonight. And I know that for a fact. And I guess my question is, will you be the one that delivers for your family? See, somebody in my family had to make a difference. Somebody had to step up and say, you know what, enough's enough. It's time to change. And I'm not telling you this is the only opportunity in the world, but I am telling you it's one of them. And maybe you got another opportunity. I don't know, but maybe you got a bunch of people knocking on your door offering you an opportunity to change your life. But I've been in business a long time. And they say you get 1 or 2 opportunities in your life to really make an impact in the world. I don't know if this is your first or your last, but I know there ain't an aisle at Walmart where you can go shopping for a new opportunity, that you can change people's lives. You can offer a product and service that means something. You could build relationships, that you could build an impact, that you could build an environment where you feel good about bringing your kids in and your spouse in. Say, man, we feel good about what we do. I believe that you get to make that choice tonight. And it's up to you. And I hope that you can tell tonight that I'm not Mr. Politically correct. I never try to talk anybody into doing anything because I know it's hard work to win. And if I got to talk you into working, man, that's just not who we are. But if you're willing to work, if you got a good heart, if you love helping people, if you believe in doing what's right 100% of the time, then I think you're the right person. So I want to thank you for getting on tonight. What I want you to do at this point is, if you're a new guest, please reach out to the person who invited you. And they'll talk to you about what it takes to get started. Some people say, what does it cost them? No, it doesn't cost you anything. We do a background check, and we got to make sure we're hiring the right kind of people. But we pay for all that. The only thing it's going to cost you is some work ethic, some determination, some grit, learning a script, learning what to say, when to say it, and how to say it. That's it. That's all it costs you. The worst thing that can happen is you come here, you learn, you get some knowledge, you get some education, you help some customers, and decide it's not for you. The best thing that could happen is it turns out to something like Mike Johnson, where you can go change your family's life forever. You could build a family business, or you could do something you're really proud of. So I want to thank you guys for getting on tonight. I hope you got some great information. You can always go to our website, jkrwindows.com, and get some more information. We got a bunch of stuff on social media, get some more information, whatever it takes. But thank you so much for hopping on. Please make sure you reach out to the person that invited you tonight. And if you have any questions or anything for me, feel free, get my cell phone number from whoever invited you. Be glad to answer any questions anytime I can. All right. Thank you guys. Have a great night. God bless.